In recent months, I've tried to draw attention to Minecraft's glaring inventory management issues, proposing an inventory update and suggesting ideas in the hopes that someone at Mojang might take these suggestions seriously. It was always a long shot, but the process of exploring ideas and the reasoning behind them was a fun exercise. Perhaps it shouldn't be of surprise that the block swapping hotkey idea is now its own mod. TR7 picked up the idea and ran with it, making it something you can actually use in the game. Since then, the two of us have been working on improving and expanding the mod's capabilities, but in doing so, I ran into some ethical questions about how introducing a gameplay-altering mod could cause problems for certain Minecraft communities and groups playing the game that we love. That is what this video is about, an open discussion on the questions I had to ask myself in promoting this mod that alters gameplay in a way one could perceive as unfair and cheaty. The discussion ahead may cause some of you to think I am overreacting or throwing shade at some of those who have made gameplay changing Minecraft mods. I want to clear the air straight away. This is simply an exercise in thinking and asking questions. I have no solid conclusions or judgment on others. I simply ran into a dilemma I didn't expect and learned about some practices within the modding community I didn't initially understand. So yes, I may be overthinking and taking this computer game too seriously, but this is at least healthy to engage the mind and explore these thoughts openly. So what's the big deal? It's rather simple. The ItemSwapper mod gives the player an ability to swap blocks on the fly. Sounds innocent enough, but considering this works with tools, weapons and potions, it doesn't take much imagination to realize how this could give one player an unfair advantage in PvP or PvE. A quick switch to the appropriate weapon or accessing a potion swiftly could make all the difference in the margins of combat. If you think it's minor or major, we could at least all agree it's an advantage nonetheless. I guess most of you have put this on the harmless end of the spectrum in comparison to fly hacking and diamond x-raying mods. Either way, it does put it on the spectrum of cheatiness, along with mini-maps and zoom mods that have become commonplace among Java players. These players and communities could perceive the mod I've created in a negative way. Of course, its original intent was to address inventory management issues, but its usage also evokes unfair gameplay advantages. So we have identified the problem. A solution should be easy, right? Just code in an option to disable its use if permission is not granted on a multiplayer server. You might be thinking, but what if the server doesn't know about this mod? That would be precisely the point. Players wanting to use the ItemSwapper mod would have to bring a request to the server admins, thus making them and their community aware of the mod and have their own discussions of if they want to use it or not. You and I may think this mod is harmless and it will only be used for good, but not everyone agrees on these things. The point, however, is not to impose the situation on communities who suddenly find out their players have a gameplay advantage thanks to some new mod that's appeared. This could potentially lead to player bans, disagreements, arguments, and reactionary behaviours that discussion beforehand would have been healthier for all involved. The ItemSwapper mod is not intended for cheating in the way an X-ray mod is. My fear is that it could be perceived this way if not implemented correctly in multiplayer, where a player's own choice to use it can affect others. It seems things are not as simple as I thought though. If one adds the code to disable its use on a server, all it takes is for another developer to fork the mod. This essentially creates a clone of it, then changing or removing the line of code for multiplayer use. Then there is the potential for this forked version to become more popular. The development of the mod is then wrangled away from the original authors, not something myself or TR7 would want to happen with ItemSwapper. This was initially counterintuitive to me. If someone else wants to implement a forked version of the mod, then why not let them suffer the burden of its consequences? Let them take blame for any backlash it may cause. I do have an ignorance of modding practices and the mod scene in general, but it doesn't take long to find similar examples as practically every mod follows this principle. If you don't do it, someone else will. An exception here is perhaps ModRinth, who restrict abuse mods like fly hacking from distribution on their platform. There are a lot of gameplay altering mods out there, along with a lack of built-in prevention for its use on multiplayer servers. They could offer an opt-in system, allowing communities to decide what they will or won't allow but I don't recall ever seeing this. And again, we are talking about ethics within the realms of a computer game and code. I'm not asking to be taken that seriously, but for me this was a moral quandary I did not expect to encounter. The reasoning of if you don't do it someone else will has always bothered me when it comes to life's problems, so I've made this video to discuss it openly and hear your thoughts and opinions, especially from the modders and programmers out there who would have greater insight into why things are done this way. Fortunately, for the mod's release, we could agree on a compromise that would prevent the forking of ItemSwapper and potential loss of its development. The solution? A prompt and confirmation buttons, seen whilst first trying to use the mod on a server. It's a fair warning message explaining the situation and consequences of using the mod where it might be seen as unfavourable. After all, some players will undoubtedly use it without even considering it might be the problem in the eyes of the community's authorities. This also gives them a nudge to perhaps kick off the discussion, as this being a survival-oriented mod, it has the potential to gain widespread adoption and become commonplace on survival servers. After all, ItemSwapper's intent is to address Minecraft's inventory management issues and aid the player in expressing their creativity. It does that, and therefore could travel far and wide, but we will have to wait and see if it becomes a popular adoption or not. Now, I know some of you will be thinking this, and yes, there are parallels to the recent debacle with Mojang's implementation of in-game chat moderation. It was forced onto communities and servers as opposed to giving them the option to decide for themselves. That is the moral dilemma I encountered here, yet the norm seems to drift in the other direction when it comes to mods. It's an interesting debate to navigate. Personally, I find myself preferring that communities are given the space to decide for themselves, even if one may disagree with their outcome. Hermitcraft, for example, is lenient and accepting of gameplay enhancing mods. However, that is done with a lot of trust regular servers can't achieve. It is the process of being able to determine that's important. That's what much of this video is about, one's own freedoms in balance with that of others. So this video is sponsored by, well, me. Consider this an advertisement for my Patreon community, where we have started a new Minecraft server with the Create mod. The twist is we play in creative mode, and this gives us a different play scale where we can focus on aesthetics and building city scale areas together, and of course massive create contraptions. It's also got the ItemSwapper mod installed, which we talked about in this video of course, and it's configured to work with the Create mod. On our server there is not only a beautiful industrial era town on the surface, but a network of trains connecting everything together. And we recently started expanding into this new gorgeous terrain where we are building Hogwarts, a Create mod take on Hogwarts from Star Wars. So if you're interested in joining, swing by my Patreon or visit the Get Whitelisted page on my website for multiple ways to access and join our community today. Access is instant and it's linked down below. So hopefully we found the right solution to this dilemma, and of course I am eager to hear your thoughts. So comment, leave a like to support the video, and if you're looking for more to watch, please do check out the Minecraft discussions playlist. There are more thoughtful videos like this one there for you to enjoy. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.